What's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're taking a look over here at the Bitcoin price chart, along with the XRP price chart, and something that I've talked about over this weekend. Coming off of the massive liquidation event that took place last Thursday, it was greater in size than the FTX liquidation. But at the same time, we're going to try to tie things in with the United States stock market and showing where it's at right now as we get ready to start a new week for the stock market too. Now, we're still waiting for the dust to kind of settle from what happened with Bitcoin last week. As we can clearly see, Bitcoin has not caught any type of meaningful bounce happening yet, as it's pulled back down within its range to the range lows again. One of the things that is quite interesting about this, considering it was the magnitude of an FTX liquidation, is how oversold the market has gotten here for Bitcoin compared to historical norms. On the daily time frame, we have only been this oversold 2 other times in the last about 7 years. One of those times being C19, and the other time being the capitulation back in 2018. The other 2 times we came close to this were back here in January of 2022, as price did stall out here and went sideways for 3 to 4 months. Then again down here at the full-fledged capitulation that took place back in June of last year, which, if you remember, June, that's after Luna, UST, Three Arrows Capital, Celsius, BlockFi, all that stuff was happening in there back in June. And still to this day, that point marks the low from June of 2022 for many assets throughout the crypto market, including Litecoin, Ethereum Classic, Monero, QNT, Ethereum, and XRP. Not to mention, it is still the low for the total altcoin market cap. So historically speaking, whenever we get this oversold, it has been some type of a marker that things will settle down or reverse. Thing to notice, at least for the capitulation of 2018, it did get down here to where we are right now and then had another flush. However, we're so far beyond that style of a moment into Bitcoin, just from a time perspective. Even if you wanted to use the top of Bitcoin, saying the peak of the market was here in November of 2021, even though all indicators indicate we actually peaked back here during laser eyes and diamond hands and Elon Musk. Even if we used here, we're so far beyond capitulation moments that we'd be resembling more something like C19 happening. And I've shown that when we look at a lot of these altcoins and where they actually did peak, is that their peaks were so long ago, back in May of 2021. The depth of which we're in here is more along the lines of the last liquidity flush, the last margin pull to wipe out any speculators that are trying to trade on margin. But that when you have somewhat of a liquidity flush happening like that, it is a whole lot more like what happened back with C19 back in 2020. And while it's interesting to see us have an event bigger than our most recent one that we can all remember, which is FTX, and we see that on the daily time frame, Bitcoin is as oversold or more oversold than any time period since C19. And when we did get to periods of time that were this oversold on the relative strength index, it did mark pivotal moments to at least either pause, as we did here back in January of 2022, or from a lot of the market, find its actual bottom, as we did in June of 2022. So it's an interesting observation there to see how oversold Bitcoin did get during this moment. Now, of course, the thing people are going to be looking for now is going to be, will it reverse, right? We know that each reversal in 2023, each move to the upside has been dramatic and happened very quick, and there's been no real exceptions for the year of 2023. While the first one did take some time after FTX to settle for 2 months, we can see our last 2 reversals both came pretty quickly after the true bottom was in and the leverage did flush in the system. Taking a look at those from this type of perspective, you could see how much time really elapsed in there before they ended up going. Give you kind of a clue. And I think that's kind of what we're all going to kind of be cheering for here for Bitcoin to hurry up and gain some momentum back to the upside. Otherwise, should we stay down here at the lows for a couple of months with Bitcoin, personally, I'll have to start considering that Bitcoin is a whole lot weaker than many would hope. But a quick reversal, that's what we've seen all of 2023. We could cheer for that. If we were to stay down here and hold down near these lows for a long time, while we can go back to talking about what we've been talking about for the last several months, every time we've come off of these ABC corrections, or at least the last 2 big ones, which were back in 2020 and in 2021, we would back back test this area before then shooting to the upside. We'd back test this area before shifting our way up. We clearly did not do that here in 2023, but we did plow and break through that, which is more reminiscent of this whole time period and pulling back in here when we took that out and cracked right through it. Again, this is one of those moments we just pointed to on the Bitcoin RSI to say it too also reached extreme oversold conditions here. So should we just stay at the lows? There's no big reversal that comes out of here for Bitcoin, but it just kind of shuffles its way up, and then we go visit the lows and just waddle around, hanging out down here. Well, that's not similar to the quick reversals we've been seeing through 2023, and it starts really resembling additional weakness over there in Bitcoin. So that'll be the kind of the thing to keep an eye on for the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, we're not waiting a couple of weeks and things can turn their way back up. One of the things I've been keeping my eye on closely has been with the United States stock market. And last Friday, fortunately, we did get a close to hold above that exact same level that Bitcoin cracked through that triggered the liquidations to start happening. Now, as many know, we're getting very close to a 4.236 extension here for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. One of the things I've pointed to throughout the last several years has been how high the Roaring 20s went before the Great Depression came in. And last week, reminding what this looked like compared to current price action right now, and that the height of this thing, an equivalent move, precisely nails the 4.236 extension. And we can see we haven't quite gotten there yet. Now, if we look at how last week behaved, well, we can remember the Dow Jones has really just been stuck for the last 7 or 8 months. Finally, it did end up having that close that got out there in mid-July, and then finally the big breakout in late July. And this could just be perceived as a backtest happening. Multiple things were positive about this weekly candle close. One, it closed above all these previous weekly candle closes, the highest close in about a year and a half. Two, when we have this overlaid with all the Fibonacci extensions, we can see it closed above the 3.618. So that really is the one that has been holding it down this entire time, unable to close with a significant breakout above until recently. Finally backtesting, holding, and at the exact same time, holding the exact same level that we just watched all that liquidation happen over there in the cryptocurrency market. So these were positive things to happen in here for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And in moves that continue up like this, like we've shown, it is normal to have that backtest happen before you shift your way back up. Should this level break, that's when things would likely get pretty sketchy. Otherwise, this actually is just a standard move to happen before you go for the full extension reach out. I also pointed to this last week that even with Bitcoin, which did this exact same thing where it got right above the 3.618 extension, pulled back, and then went on to barely hit the 4.236, it was also the same style that has happened in here for the Dow Jones before pulling back. And that level was right there, which is a little bit higher up here for the Dow. But otherwise, we've exhibited very similar behavior in here to how we did with Bitcoin's kind of rolling over top that we saw back there in the spring of 2021. So the throwback that we saw happen over there on the Dow, normal so far, but should we go break these levels, you'd see the things we'd have happen, right? We'd lose all the weekly closes that we've just cleared. We'd lose a potential liquidation level, and we'd lose a 3.618. So things to watch for this week moving forward. Should this thing reverse, right? We know that crypto has been pulling back during this whole time period. And last week, during the biggest move of the week in the stock market, is the moment that the liquidations all took place in crypto. This was the biggest move we saw throughout all of these. So great to see it hold above all the weekly candle closes. Great to see it hold above the 3.618 Fibonacci extension, and great to see it hold on top of that previous resistance turn support. So as we start this week, this will be the thing I'll be keeping my eye on to make sure all is well in crypto. But so far, so good. So hopefully that thing holds. It reverses up there for the stock market. Hopefully Bitcoin goes along with it, as we've seen throughout all of 2023. But should things start changing in the Dow, it starts giving us a bigger picture over here too. And really, so long as $24,800 is holding for Bitcoin, it's still technically just in a horizontal range. But moving forward, if we don't end up getting one of these big reversals to start showing up here in Bitcoin, really have to start coming up with more complicated ideas. And especially if the Dow Jones goes for some type of plunge like this, that's likely a bad sign. But I wanted to show you that so far, it's okay with the stock market. So far, we've seen some of the most oversold conditions for Bitcoin. Those were historically good markers for Bitcoin. But we're also dancing on supports here for everything with Bitcoin and with the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Now, I think one of the more optimistic things as well is when we look over here at the XRP price chart. So up here, I've got XRP. Down below, I have an example of an extended correction for Bitcoin from back in 2014 and 15. And then I have the correction for the altcoin market from 2018 and 19. And I posted over there on Twitter over the weekend called the anatomy of a correction. And for longtime viewers of the channel, you may always remember the term the rally prior to capitulation, which is deemed to be this moment right in here, where we have a slight rally in the market before the capitulation ends up showing up. Well, touche market, we did end up getting that over here for XRP, as we do see a capitulative move, as we saw back in 2014 and 15. Now, of course, frustrating to see it go this low, because we can look over to Stellar Lumens, which is XRP's sister, and sure enough, Stellar Lumens did hold on top of the support that we were looking for there for XRP at like 56 to 58 cents. Stellar Lumens did hold during this time period. However, as we all know, XRP went plowing through, doing its own thing. But we can look to see what corrections do look like when you do have a liquidation flush at the end, when you do have a capitulation where you see all hope get lost, disappointment, and these are what bottoms do look like. These are what happened after corrections reach their extreme moment to where it gets to a point where it absolutely breaks and the extremes come in. The good news is that would mark the end. That's how ends do come in. The thing is, we have to go through a small period of accumulation in here before things can work their ways back out. So when I see something like this happening at the same time, you have a full correction, you have the liquidations, you have the excess leverage wiped out of the system, and extreme capitulation, that adds to the confluence of the most daily oversold conditions since C19, and to the Dow Jones being able to hold this level. It's like the extreme of the move, along with Stellar Lumens being able to hold where we were hoping to see XRP hold. Now, as for me with XRP, I did make a trade on it last week that I did invalidate over the weekend. As you guys know, the 200 week was coming in here for XRP versus Bitcoin. We actually still did even close the week on top of that. So that's interesting to see that we did close on top of there. However, the things that we've talked about when it comes to this particular chart, trading XRP versus Bitcoin or looking at XRP versus Bitcoin on their charts, is that it's totally normal to go 2 to 4% beyond the moving average or within the moving average in order for it to be behaving as some type of support or some type of resistance. That was the invalidation level I talked about last week. If we go more than 5%, which was like 1935, that would invalidate it as being reactionary to it being a support. Now, does that get thrown off by it being a liquidation event that happened in the market? Maybe. Either way, the idea gets invalidated by it going more than 5% based on the rules I had set for myself. So I've unwound that. I'll give it another shot again at some point, but fortunately I was able to get that taken care of back at break even. I'm a firm believer that the Bitcoin dominance has topped. We spent a lot of time talking about this with USDT, USDC, Bitcoin, and Ethereum dominances as the safety trade. I do believe the safety trade is done, but I'm going to probably need a better setup for me to go ahead and try that again with my Bitcoin. Part of the game. So as the week kicks off, the things I'll be keeping my eye on are going to be the stock market, in particular the Dow Jones Industrial Average, back at its support level. The S&P 500 also has confluence at that level. We definitely want to make sure that what happened in crypto is not a precursor to action coming in the stock market. I've shown that this is a technical location where supports can come in, as we saw with Bitcoin doing this exact same rollover and having to hit that support level that was right before that final flush to the low for Bitcoin back in 2021. So we're right there. So long as we start stepping away from here, we should be able to start breathing a sigh of relief. And one would think that would translate over here into crypto as well. So pretty tame weekend throughout the weekend with really the stock market being closed. So the crypto market didn't do a whole lot. Fortunately, we got a decent close there in the stock market as the week closed out. This morning, the stock market is still trying to prove that it's going to be bouncing from this location. And otherwise, crypto has remained stable after an otherwise just absolute insane 5 minutes last Thursday. But we have confluence in a lot of things in the market when it comes to XRP's capitulation, Stellar Lumens holding the support levels, Bitcoin most oversold, Dow Jones at a support level. So now we're just trying to see the market get off on the right foot as the new week does begin. But so far, things seem okay. Dow is still holding its support level. And as I record, the S&P is up about 0.2% and the NASDAQ is up a little bit over 1% this morning. And right now, we're at one of those phases when it comes to Bitcoin, looking to see if it's going to behave like it has all of 2023. We know it in each 3 impulses that we've seen for Bitcoin. They've all come with these big flushes to the downside. They hang out there for a couple of days and then shoot their way back up. Hopefully that's in the cards for what's happening right now. Until then, we'll check in on it each day to see if the setup starts getting more clear. Otherwise, all of these have just been surprise, surprise, and surprise. And right now, that can't be ruled out entirely. So I'll check in with you guys tomorrow. I wanted to show you the things I saw throughout the weekend when it comes to XRP's completed corrective structure, stellar lumens holding the supports, the Dow Jones on supports, and Bitcoin's oversold relative strength index on the RSI, which hasn't been this oversold since C19. Till the next one, I wish you the best of luck. But all right, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. If you're looking for something to do today, of course, you could check out my website, bcbacker.com. This is the course I've put together, deep diving throughout the cryptocurrency market and teaching you how to set up your own charts and your own indicators so you could do the same kind of things that I'm doing on the channel, or at least have a better understanding of the things that I'm talking about on the channel. We talk, of course, a lot about the different indicators, different pattern structures, Wyckoff accumulation, Elliott wave theory, and really dive into the historical behavior of the cryptocurrency market, along with showing some of the things that just I've learned from a lot of experience in the market on things that have been important to know, like crowd behavior, emotional management, and some different case studies on research that helped improve odds throughout history. You can check this out over here on bcbacker.com. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys at the next one. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.